What's going on, everybody? Hope everybody's enjoying their night. This is your host, Dave Duenas from Leave It in the Ring. Thought I'd jump on. Just had a great night of boxing. Top-ranked card that happened in Florida between Navarrete and Christopher Diaz. A display of two hearts, man, of fighters in there. You know, I remember a lot of folks were writing off Diaz, really thinking that Navarrete was just kind of like mow right over him. But instead, when we end up getting was this display of a warrior's heart. You know, I mean, look, did I think that he was going to win this fight? No. But did I think it was going to be an easy fight for Navarrete? Did I think that Navarrete was not going to have to, make some minor adjustments or even take notice that he's got a real fighter in front of him? Absolutely. And that's exactly what we end up seeing, anytime I hear a corner or the fighter saying they're going to box, they're going to try to box, and that's what they're going to do, especially with a very orthodox and awkward fighter like Navarrete. And I gotta admit, Top Rank's commentary team, Bradley, and Ward, a lot of times they say a lot of stuff because they're such experienced fighters, and possibly, first ballot Hall of Famers, right? Rightfully so in their careers. But, when they're commentating, a lot of times I'm agreeing with a lot of the stuff they're saying, and especially immediately, I think it was Ward that said, you can't box him. There's no way of outboxing Navarrete because the timing is hard to time, and there was some signs that Navarrete and his team had really Diaz and his team had really studied Navarrete because the body work was evident, showing some movement, some angles, but there was other things in there that the corner should have kept a close eye on and probably try to implicate that during the fight or even in training camp. And the one punch that's really underrated, and Andre Ward should know this punch because he used it a whole lot, it's a jab to the solar plex. And what that does is stops the movement of a guy that's kind of awkward and he likes to dart in and out, makes that, that jump, okay? And when you saw that when Chris Diaz worked that body of Navarrete, you could see it was uncomfortable for him. Okay, I also tweeted out saying you may not be able to outbox him, but you can make Navarrete fight desperate. And what I meant by that is that if you go to that body and you attack that body, okay, what you're doing is if you jab to the midsection or even to the hip of a guy that likes to use that movement of coming in and out, having that herky-jerky style coming in and out, and it shows, you start seeing the signs that they don't like that, that makes their feet kind of get stuck in the mud. So then you could kind of inch your way in, especially that Navarrete is a taller guy, could have been able to inch his way in and then work that body. And then that would force Navarrete to start doing, stupid things in there, opening up when he shouldn't open up, shooting for shots, overreaching for shots that he normally wouldn't. Why? Because he doesn't like that body work, and it also makes him feel forced that he's trying to get this guy out of there a lot quicker than he was strategically planning to do. Because if you look at his plan was just to slowly, just systematically break down Diaz. Just do it round by round, minute by minute. And Navarrete showed that he had control of every minute and every round. Some rounds I saw he just kind of gave away seconds and minutes because he was, making sure that he had gas reserved. And that's an intelligent fighter. And, Timothy Bradley had said how intelligent Navarrete is. You look at his style. It's not the prettiest style, but it's effective, and he knows how to use his style. Going back with Diaz, the other thing that maybe his team will look at now, I don't know if he's going to stick around or what, but honestly, I think he should. I mean, he really showed a lot of heart. He showed skill. He just had a much better guy in there that wasn't going to allow Chris to break his will, okay? But this is something that anybody that is in the 130 and 126 division, should take notice that Navarrete tends to throw a lazy jab. And when he throws that lazy jab, he jackknifes it, okay? Which means he likes to bring it down, that right hand. And he keeps it right here, and he just jabs and he sits there, okay? Now, it could be the height of Chris, where maybe that's why he didn't want to risk throwing it, because, you know, anytime Navarrete did have it here, and the reason he has it here, he's got it cocked, so that if you're trying to throw, he kind of leans, you know, inward, this way to throw that uppercut, to get that leverage. So that might be the thing they're worried about, okay? But that's when you got to catch Navarrete asleep. And he does tend to sleep a bit, because he kind of gets bored if he's taking complete ring generalship. So there's two things that I saw that Diaz did and could have capitalized and could have really opposed that against him, which is if he jabbed in the midsection and the hip to Navarrete, could have possibly slowed him down and make him fight desperate. Second is the jackknifing of that jab. He could have, you know, capitalized that and took advantage and make him pay for doing that, okay? That would have actually broke him out of rhythm, you know, because his jab really is to buy him time so he can look at what your body's doing. That's what he's doing when he's jabbing and he's jackknifing. He's actually just watching your movement and your reaction to what he's doing, okay? He's seeing if you tense up, you know, if you're going to earmuff, if you're looking, what direction you're going to go. I've always told this to my kids that I train and other kids that I've helped out, or other folks that I sat down, trainers, we BS and all that, shoot the shit about styles and you know, game plans and stuff. I've always said this: great fighters and smart fighters, they don't throw punches to throw punches. They actually are setting you up for whatever, you know, like what I mean by that, like, if you're going to throw a jab, don't just throw a jab. Have a reason why you're throwing that jab. Is it to make the guy move in a direction you want, so you're in range to throw your right hand, a left hook, or an uppercut? And if you watch Navarrete, that's what he really does. He actually throws a lot of throwaway punches to look at what you're going to do, so he knows how to execute that. It's very intelligent. You know, some folks are not, it's not pleasing to them, their eye of what they see from Navarrete, but he's a whirlwind, you know, and he's going to keep continuously coming at you, okay? What awes me about Navarrete, man, is the fact that, you know, and I agree with you there, Nato. Now get to that. You know, what awes me about Navarrete is this, okay? Being a tall fighter and also being a pressure fighter the way he is, and the awkwardness, and sometimes he kind of falls into those, you know, I mean, the awkwardness, he should be falling into his punches, okay? And I know that Timothy Bradley was calling for Diaz to tie him up. You know, this is the moment where he should tie him up. The reason why you didn't see a whole lot of tying up, and when there was tying up, it was really due to Navarrete's choice, okay? I'm having some coffee, man, because it's late and I'm getting old. And I normally am in bed by 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, you know, but it's past my bedtime for us older vatos, you know? Anyways, Jesus, Nalo, ¿qué pasó? Thanks for joining me. Navarrete is reckless. He is. But here's the thing about his recklessness. Now go back to that. The reason why you didn't see that holding from Diaz is that Navarrete actually has pretty good, awkward, funky type of footwork, okay? He does kind of cross his feet where he shouldn't, but he doesn't fall into his punches. When I mean that, when he comes on and he stalks you and he starts letting these barrage of punches come at you, you don't see him crowd himself. He actually knows how to keep himself at good distance where he fits these punches. Then the other thing he does is that when he lands his punch or he misses, he knows when to stop and then take a half step back. So just in case you want to reach and grab him or maybe even counter, he's not in that range for you to counter punch him. And he's in actual range because he's got long arms to counter punch you. It's actually beautiful. If you didn't catch that and notice that, I encourage you to go back and look at that, okay? You know, and a lot of that recklessness that he does, it works for him. Excuse me. And I've always said, look, why try to fix something that's not broken, that it continues to work? When you need to fix it, or when you need to have another game plan in your arsenal bag, is when somebody figures that out. And and like I said, whoever's at 126 right now, like Gary Russell, I believe, is still in that division. Those are the kind of guys that are going to watch. Those are the students of the game. And that's where Navarrete, if that fight was to happen, right? Let's just say that, hypothetically speaking. If that was the next fight to happen, that to me, Navarrete to me is going to have to bring a little bit more than what he brought against Diaz. Okay? Because Diaz's fault is, unfortunately, even though I'm praising it, I love what he did tonight. I want to see the kid again. We don't know what it looks right now for the future for him, but he's a good fighter. He comes to fight. He gives us a show. He gives all his all, and that's all we ever ask for from our fighters in the game, right? But the one thing that is fault for him is his heart. It's one of the prime reasons why he lost this fight is because he didn't know how to adjust. He didn't know what was effective, and everything was a guessing game for him. Regardless if they had a plan, it was still a guessing game, okay? Where as a pure boxer, another guy in there that's going to see these faults, they're going to capitalize it right away. They're actually going to nullify that. Take that away from Navarrete. That's what you're supposed to do. Take away his best offense and turn him into a defense fighter, which he's not really isn't, even though he does show very good defense. You got to give that to Navarrete, okay? So those are the little bleak things that I saw from Navarrete that, if anybody's looking to face him next, those two things I just mentioned, jabbing to the midsection and hip slows down that in and out movement, okay? Also, look for the lazy jab. He's looking for your kinks. He's looking to iron out those kinks that you're not deciding to iron out. That's what he's doing. He's a very intelligent guy. He's very underrated. I don't know why a lot of folks are not commenting on how smart the kid is and how effective his style is. And it is difficult to get guys, as mentioned as the guys on that center top right, to get guys to mimic that style. But you can study that style. You can watch that style. You can have a sparring partner sit there and watch those fight films of Navarrete, and then you can have somebody mimic it. Obviously it's not going to be completely organic, but it also prepares you to mentally have it in your head what you can do and how you can execute and stop the offense of Navarrete. G Funky, that's a good point. I don't know how you can beat a weird style like that. The one thing that Diaz to me saw, and I think their game plan was give Navarrete angles, okay? Which when you hear somebody say, I'm going to box, meaning they're going to use that whole ring. I don't know if the size of the ring was really small. I didn't hear the size of it, but, that's where the sparring, a lot of the sparring comes into play, is getting the right sparring guys, meaning getting big guys. If you were going to use, even if it's a small ring or a big ring, you're going to use a bigger guy to push you back and make you move around that ring, continuously make you move around that ring, leg conditioning, road work, all of that stuff to keep you going. There was no question about Diaz's conditioning because the guy was getting dropped, the guy was getting hurt, and he was getting up. It was at that very end round where the ref, in my opinion, I thought the ref job should have stepped in and waved it off. The body language, and especially the shots that were being landed by Navarrete, which were 3, 4, 5 punch combinations, would have told me as a ref, this is enough. I think I've seen enough. 20 seconds can change a man's life, okay? We didn't need to see, 20 seconds of possibly seeing this kid's whole career, his whole life with his family be ruined and stuff. And it was kudos to his corner that saw that and were like, hey, we got to stop this. Enough's enough. And that's what I tweeted out. Enough's enough. But how do you beat a guy like that? How do you train for that? I go back again. Fight tape. Getting your sparring guys to sit with you during fight tape. I know that's hard to do because you're paying them and it's a short time frame and stuff, but you have your local guys that you work out of your gym, your regulars that work with your guy, have them watch fight tape, and then you look at that and you guys try to mimic that, which again, it's harder than said it's done, easier than said done, right? I'm sorry, easier than said it's done. But those to me are ways to try to at least help you out with that game plan. You know, I've been to certain gyms. I've actually went to go. I've seen you know, fighters getting prepared for other guys, and everybody has a different approach. You know, but I've always felt that fight tape is the best way to look at things, to discover things, find things. Sometimes you may watch a fight once, okay, and you can spot it right away. Sometimes it takes 10, 15 times, and you can notice it, you know. Navarrete, I've noticed the jackknifing. Navarrete, I didn't notice that, you know what, he does pause when you jab to that message, but it happens to a lot of guys. You know, they pause, especially when they're going an up and down line. They're going up and straight and down. That's their style. Navarrete doesn't really try to circle around you. I mean, the only time he does it is to actually make you stand still so that he can leap in with that uppercut. But he's not one to try to outbox you, like, you know, give you angles and then try to catch you in all these different shots. He's kind of an up and down. He actually waits for you to shell up, and then he, you know, he kind of paralyzes you like that, because he's such a big guy and he's coming from, you know, his punches are coming from different angles, not his body. You know, so that there, you know already that if you jab to that midsection or to that hip, you know, the old school guys used to do that. Jab to the hip. You know, Bernard Hopkins was notorious for that. Tito Trinidad, when he was in trouble, if he had a mover, what did he do? He hooked to the hip, slowed you down a bit. You know, Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. was notorious for doing that too. You know, Roberto Duran, notorious for doing that too, slowing them down, you know. Now, whether it's going to be completely effective, because I got to admit, jabbing is one of the most exhausting punches out of all of everybody's arsenal, you know, of punches, okay? Because it takes a lot, you know. Some people use it as a fine ranger. Some people use it as the punch to blind you. Other people, you know, use it as a power punch. But to use it as a power punch, and especially to stop a guy that's a force, you know, at 126, probably walking in at 130, right? That's a lot of weight to push back. So that's where the heavy bag comes into play, is jabbing that heavy bag, you know. But also too, you're gambling with the uppercut of Navarrete, and you're also leaving yourself open to the right hand of Navarrete, you know. So those are the things that you got to watch and look for and be prepared. But again, G-Funk, you're absolutely right. It's very weird and hard to prepare for such an awkward guy like Navarrete. Ron, thanks for joining in, brother. You got to do what Hamed did to what Burrell did to Hamed. Spike the water. Richard Steele to the rescue. And Jesus, exactly, I agree with you. Body punch and jab, Navarrete. D, thanks for joining in. Which style is more stinky? Andrade or Navarrete, a.k.a. Andre, you know, I always keep calling Andrade because that's how he was introduced in the beginning. But Demetrius Andre, I don't know. You know, man, I mean, I guess they're both effective in their own way, but which one is more appealing and which one is more attractive would be the real question. And I would say Navarrete's style is more attractive. It's more exciting because he's actually kind of walking in the fire, and he's willing to take shots to land his big shots. Though he doesn't, like, it's really hard to get him with more than one big clean shot. You know, I mean, he takes a clean shot, but he's got good head movement. He knows when to tie you up. He knows when to circle you. You know, I think the thing with Boo Boo is that what turns off a lot of folks is that he can put the foot on the gas, but then he doesn't keep it there. He backs off of it, which that's what allows him not to get the KOs. Where Navarrete is, if you're willing to go in a fire, if you're willing to be in a firefight with him, he's okay of accepting that. He's willing to do that as well. You know, if you're praising the heart of Diaz tonight, you got to praise the heart of Navarrete, because, you know, he never gave up in trying to get that stoppage, which he ended up getting in the 12th and final round. 20 seconds left on that round. Let's go to the chat here. Let's see what else, man. LT, thanks for joining in. Not comparing, just asking about their styles, because both are so funky. You're right. You're right, man. They are funky, but like I said, I go back. I like them both. I really do. I mean, they're both effective. They're both. I mean, look, Demetrius, it works for him. And like I said earlier, why fix something that's not broken? The thing is now the guys in their division, whether it's whoever Demetrius wants next, right, which would be Charlo or Triple G or any of these guys, which he probably won't get. He's going to end up getting another mandatory. See, it's up to that team to now look at tape of Andre. Andre loves to jab, but he jabs. It's a weird sword jab that he throws, right? A sword jab, normally you're jabbing this way, and what that is to pick the guy up, okay, or break the guard open so you can fit that right-handed. He does it where he looks down, and he actually leaves himself so open and vulnerable. And that's where the other team has got to study it and look for that and look for an uppercut, and pick him up, break him out of that rhythm. Goes back with Navarrete. Those things that he does, those subtle things that he does that you can capitalize, you got to execute it. But there's a gamble. There's more of a gamble, in my opinion, to execute those flaws of Navarrete than there is with Andre. Even though Andre does carry a pretty good punch, I mean, he's going to keep you pretty humble. He's dropped a lot of his guys, All right, so let's move on to that, man. Navarrete and Diaz, like I said, I like to see Diaz come back. I thought he gave a great effort. Navarrete, I'm so interested in seeing what they're going to do with them at 126. 130, I'm not really sure if he should move up to 130. That's pretty difficult. Going to be facing some bigger guys, but I'm pretty sure that he's going to make that division exciting if he does move up. But I like to see him stick around at 126. Now, going to Berlanga, who ended that, that streak of KOs that he had, okay? And Nicholson, right? Nicholson went out there, a veteran, and, did some good things. He actually showed some good things that not exposed, I don't want to use the word exposed, but he definitely showed that Berlanga is is a kid in progress. There's a lot of stuff that the kid needs to learn. The one thing that honestly he should take away from this whole experience of going to all 8 rounds is being humbled. That power sometimes is not going to get you out of everything, And I've always said the media praise could either break you or make you. It could either clout your vision of what is ahead of you and what's in front of you, and even clout the way you prepare for a fight. This here should tell them everything. Do not allow people telling you that you're this great puncher, this destructive guy, that you're going to knock everybody out, where you don't have a plan. And if you watch that, after that first round, went in the second round, in that mid-second round, things started falling apart. Okay, meaning that he started falling. He crowded his punches. He fell into his punches. When Nicholson tied him up, he didn't really know what to do. Even when Nicholson didn't even tie him up, the inside didn't know what to do. The body was open, didn't execute the body. He never set any shots up. There was no jab for him. There was an occasional jab, and the jab was sharp, but then it immediately just kind of disappeared because he was still looking to close the show with a power punch. Okay, and that tells you everything about the kid, is that probably they were doing great work in the gym with his trainer. Probably the trainer gives him, which I believe he does. Rouser's a great trainer. Andrew Rouser, right? I think that's how you pronounce his last name. But that all goes out the door because, goes through one ear and out the other, because he's being told that he's this kiss of death, one punch knockout KO artist. Nobody's going to get past him in the first round. That was kind of the catch for everybody, was that, who's going to get past the first round with them? And guess what? The guy Nicholson that went 8 rounds with them and showed that he's human, showed that he needs time. Okay, I mean, look, there was already talks of this kid possibly getting in with David Benavidez or Canelo, or any of these other top 5 guys. And what we saw tonight is what we all been wondering. What is he the real deal? I mean, he does carry power, but you saw that. I think it was like the fifth round. He looked like he was gassing out. It looked like he wasn't able to carry that punch of his anymore. But I think it had a lot to do with one, frustration. Two, he couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it because he was landing some pretty solid shots and nothing was going on there. He wasn't able to, take out the other guy in front of him, right? So I tweeted out the three things that I think he needs to work on. One is the jab. He needs to learn how to use the jab and work off the jab, okay? That entails going into rounds, okay? Three is learning how not to crowd his punches. He's got to learn not to crowd those punches. If I go back again, talk about Navarrete, look at Navarrete. Navarrete actually knows when he's going forward and throwing a barrage of punches, he knows when to stop. He knows when to stop on his tracks so that he doesn't crowd his punches. And then he knows he could sense the distance. Like, oh, okay, this punch is going to be brushing against my chest and against his chest, which is not going to be effective, okay? And then he can grab and hold me. I need to take a step back. Berlanga needs to do that. They need to watch that, okay? So that's something he needs to practice is his range and his distance. Yes, he needs that outside distance so the snap at the end of his punches are super effective. But sometimes being in the inside could break down a guy and frustrate them because you're kind of like a little gnat. Those little inside punches and stuff make a guy take a step back because he's getting touched. And automatically, your body doesn't want to be touched because it's not normal, okay? Remember that. If you're getting into boxing or you're thinking about getting into boxing, your body was not made to be hit. That's why you flinch, you close your eyes, you tense up, getting all tensed up and all that right when you're about to spar and people gas out within less than a minute is because your body knows, I'm not supposed to get hit. And even when you're a professional, it's still very difficult for professionals that have been doing it for a long time to still get comfortable. That's one of the hardest things to master in boxing is to get comfortable in that ring where you're able to do a little bit of everything. So Berlanga needs to do that. He needs to learn how to get comfortable being an inside. He needs to get comfortable that guy's not going to always be in the outside at the end of his punches. He's going to have to create those moments, okay? The last thing that I tweet out about him was about his body work. He's got no body work. None whatsoever. He's predictable. And especially in a division 168 where you have more boxers than actual pure punchers, you're going to have to bring a little bit more than just power. You're going to have to bring something else to the table. You're going to face guys that are movers, guys that are going to want to outbox you, guys that are going to want to use their flashiness and their hand speed. So what do you got to do with that? That means you got to know how to cut the ring off and work that body to slow down the opponent that's going to be in front of you. But lastly, and I think the most important thing for Berlanga to figure out is he's not ready. He just isn't. He's got other promotional, he's got already all the hype and all that, but now he's got to add to that hype. He's got to put meat on that bone because right now I just saw a lot of bone on this kid, and not a lot of meat. So, he's going to end up being somebody's snack that shouldn't be, that shouldn't get that opportunity to snack on him at the moment. So, honestly, I don't see Berlanga actually doing anything really of note. I just see him that he should be being built, getting in there slowly but surely against better oppositions, better journeymans. And then I would say the end of 2022, then I think that's when we should start seeing him step up, But as at this moment, for this whole year and even beginning of 2022, I don't think that he should be in any talks of facing any of the top 5 guys at the moment. And you know what? And the Benavides at 175, I think that's where it's going to end up. It's going to have to end up because, like I said, I don't think it's ready for it at this moment. And 2 years from now, I think that would probably be, and actually like 3 years from now, I can say either the end of 2022 in the beginning of 2003. I think that'd be feasible. I think that he'll show signs that he's ready, and why not? Right now I don't see the rush. Why rush the kid? Let him develop. There's something special about the kid. You can't deny it. He's got power, man. He's got some real power, you know. That and it would be fire, definitely, you know, definitely. But yeah, that's my take on Navarrete, Berlanga. I think that he's a work in process. I don't see why not. I think that there's a lot there to develop, and slowly but surely, I think he'll get there. And why not? I mean, the way that Top Rank is notorious at building their fighters, man. They really are. You know, I've always loved what they do with their prospects and how they build them. They always get them there to the right moment. Unfortunately, we don't end up getting the fights that we want. You know, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Well, actually, you know, so here's my quick take, okay? And I was actually seeing pictures of this, you know, the physique of Billy Joe Saunders and Andy Ruiz. And, you know, got a couple emails about both men, okay? What is my take? What is my thoughts about it? Is there does that help out? Does it make a difference? Well, you know, when I was growing up as a young man in downtown San Jose, and I was a kid, it was a quarter to go to the movie theaters, San Jose movie theaters, to watch 3 features, okay? And growing up, you know, I grew up watching like Clint Eastwood, Charles Bronson, Sylvester Stallone, and Arnold Schwarzenegger, and you know, I remember always thinking and seeing, even when I grew up on the WWF time before it was WWE, right? Hulk Hogan and all that. I remember thinking as a kid, wow, muscles mean destruction. They're going to destroy you. The smaller guy, the David was never going to beat Goliath. Okay. And it wasn't until I fully understand and started watching and getting into boxing at a young age that muscles is nothing in boxing. It's actually more deceiving. Okay. Even guys that have never shown a lot of cuts in their body and six pack or whatever, when they finally do, sometimes it doesn't play out what your mind is telling you, because you're like, wow, this guy's butt, he's cut, he's ripped up, you know, that's going to do, you know, wonders for him. When in actuality, it just comes down to the one ingredient that actually gets everybody to the top of that hill, and it's skills. Your skills is what is really going to get you there. Having the great physique and everything, it should help you, but it really depends on what you focused on, the shell or the inside. And what I mean by that, like if you did no road work and all you did was concentrate in shedding and getting cuts and rips and eating right and all that, but if there's no oxygen in those muscles, it's not going to make a difference. Okay, I'll give you a perfect example. Like tonight, Berlanga fights that kid Nicholson. Nicholson was all cut up, big muscle. You know, the eye. If I sat down a casual fight fan who never watched boxing and they both walk in, 9 out of 10, that person's gonna go, oh man, that guy Nicholson is ripped up. He's gonna destroy this other dude. Look at him. He's not physiqued. You know, he doesn't look like he has any muscle. You know, and a lot of times, and the reason why is because the eye's telling you visually what they're seeing is perfect, right? But in boxing, it doesn't work that way, you know? And I think in both cases are different for Billy Joe, BJ, and Andy Ruiz, okay? And I have concerns for both guys when I see this, all right? It can either play right for them in the fight, or it can play wrong. I'll go with Andy Ruiz first, okay? With Andy Ruiz, here's the thing. We all know that he's got skills. And the guys that actually undermined his skills didn't know a whole lot about Andy Ruiz before he stepped in with Anthony Joshua, before upsetting Anthony Joshua, okay? But the kid has always struggled to discipline himself to not just control his weight, but to actually even show up to train, okay? And here's the thing, is that he gets in with Eddie Reynoso, the Canelo team. And he's definitely has shown that he's taking it serious, which is weird because you would say, like, fucking guy just won the heavyweight championship of the world, first Mexican to ever do this, and he didn't take it serious. That's either here or there. That's his mindset. You got to be in Andy Ruiz's mind to understand it. And that would entail for me to be in his mind. So I don't know what he's thinking. But it's great that he's losing all this weight, but here's my concern. Did they concentrate mostly on losing the weight and not concentrate on what needs to be done against Chris the Nightmare? Now, I know a lot of you guys are going to be saying, well, it's Chris the Nightmare. You know, he's kind of like cooked and done. Yeah, he's a fighter, but he's going to get murdered. You know what I say to that, man? I mean, we watch boxing for the unexpected. That's really why we watch this show, this drama show called boxing. It's because you never know what's going to happen, okay? And boxing, if boxing has taught me one thing, is you never judge it. You never think it's a for sure thing, because it just takes one punch, especially in the heavyweight division. Okay, now Chris is not one of these guys that's got that one punch action, but I question, and this is where I go about the weight loss, okay? Because weight loss could either work for Andy or work against Andy. Because remember this, it wasn't Andy's weight that was making him, that made him lose 2 fights, which was against Parker and AJ. It was the discipline. The guy's always had a discipline problem. It wasn't the question about his weight, you know? I mean, yeah, it came into play, you know? I mean, but in reality, like, he didn't show up with his trainer for the rematch, to get prepared for the rematch with AJ. He went in the mind frame, I knocked this guy out once, I'll do it again because he's going to do the stupidest mistake, which is stand there and trade me. He never thought once, this guy is going to move on me. This guy may come in with a different game plan. This guy may not come back as the same fighter I fought the first night. He didn't think like that. He thought, I'm going to get the same guy, I'm going to get the same results. So what's the point of training? So I've always thought there was no issue with his weight. It's more the issue of his discipline, of him actually showing up to get ready for a fight. So punch resistance. I've always felt that weight helped him because he was able to absorb punishment from the big boys. Now we're going to see, did it help him? It may not even do anything. It might make him faster. It might show that he's stronger. We don't know. Those are the big question marks that I got for him and what's in the cup? Coffee, brother. Cafecito. We don't know. Like I said, we don't know how he's going to actually perform with that new body. That makes it curious for me. Also, like I said, you know, Chris has always struggled with his weight, and he's always struggled with the discipline as well, showing up to train, to get ready. Okay, but he's never showed signs of what Andy Ruiz showed in that rematch against AJ, which was, there was no determination. There was no sense of urgency. With Chris, regardless if he's out of shape or he doesn't even show up, which he's left Henry Ramirez, you know, for the Klitschko fight, sometimes he show up to training camp, sometimes he's disappeared. But then he showed up for the fight. You never heard the guy go, I didn't train, man, I'm sorry, my bad. He's never done that once. He actually shows up. That's why I think this fight's a little bit more interesting than what folks are giving. Okay, and like I said, Chris is not known to be a one-punch knockout artist, but if you let him tee off of you, he's going to tee off. Okay, so again, do I think the new look, the new body size, all that, the physique of vodka, I won't even drink vodka, Vato. What's up, Joe? How you doing, man? It's only cervezas, bro. I'll be straight up. Like, I always get, actually, one of my homeboys, once in a while when I see him, he'll get me to drink a shot. But I don't fuck around with shots. I don't do hard liquor. I don't do mixed drinks. I'm just a straight, you know, give me a nice cold brewski type of vato, you know. Anyways, you know what? I was gonna go. I honestly was gonna go. I'm leaving on vacation this week. And then I was thinking, man, I'm gonna be over there. Why not go to the fight? But I looked at the tickets, and the bleeder seats were really kind of crazy expensive. And I was like, I don't want to do that. I'll just watch it on my tablet and stuff on vacation. I'll do that, okay? But going back to my final thought about Andy Ruiz and this new physique, is it gonna help him? Is it gonna affect him? Only that night we're gonna find out. Because if you see him not let his hands go, then you're gonna know that they didn't really prepare him to what they're going to face. They overlooked Chris. They saw a shot fighter that they could take advantage of, and it's going to be a knockout high reel for Andy Ruiz. Or you're going to see that explosiveness, more hand speed, more combinations put together, and he blows right through Chris because of what they're doing with him. Physically, conditioning, everything, what they're doing with Andy Ruiz. So it could go south or it can go north, you know. It could go south really bad for Andy Ruiz or it could go south really bad for Chris the Nightmare. But like I said, this is a heavyweight fight. And again, Chris at least shows up to fight. He's never pulled an Andy Ruiz. He's never showed up and give you an excuse that I just didn't train. I didn't care. I didn't care what was in front of me. I didn't care what I earned, and I let it go. Chris has always fought to try to earn that spot that Andy Ruiz received, and rightfully so owned, right? But he just didn't want to keep it. Now, going with BJ Saunders here, Billy Joe Saunders, his new physique. When I saw it, I saw the pictures of it. The first thing that came to mind, he's planning to run a lot. He's planning to move a lot. He understands and he knows that what gives Canelo Alvarez problems is movers. Look at the last, 4 or 5 fighters that Canelo's faced. They're not really movers. They're there for, Canelo's not really searching for them. He's able to catch them. Danny Jacobs, I thought was going to give him some more angles, some movement, and he did it. Danny either was coming forward or he was walking backwards in a straight line. Kovala, same thing, coming forward. The list goes on. So Billy Joe, as Tyson Fury has said, is a very intelligent fighter. He's not a great human being. And you know that. If you listen to my show, you've listened to me for the years, I don't really have a soft spot for Billy Joe. I'm rooting for Canelo to knock him out, but I don't think that's going to happen. I'm rooting for Canelo to give him a really nasty beatdown, but I don't think that's going to happen. If anything, I know some folks are excited about this fight. I'm leaning towards more of a boring type of not engaging fight. I think that we're going to see a lot of Canelo searching to seek and destroy, but never ever really landing the big shots that we're hoping he's going to land for a possible stoppage. I think it's going to be hard for Canelo to find Billy Joe Saunders if he's preparing the way he is. But like I said, it all depends on how they condition themselves to get this way. And my only red flag that I saw with Billy Joe is that a few months back, he didn't look that ripped. It just kind of all of a sudden, maybe I'm wrong about this, but all of a sudden it kind of showed up. So it could be more of, doing other things. Now, I'm not talking about PDs or anything like that, but I'm just saying like doing other stuff to get him ripped quick, or is it a lot of running? Because again, if you're going to be a boxer and be a mover, you're going to have to put in a lot of miles on those legs, a lot of leg conditioning for those legs, okay? Because you're going to need it. And so again, I'm not picking Billy Joe. I know I have the betting odds here on the show right now, so you could take a look at that. I think it's going to get a lot closer when fight night comes. I think a lot of Brits are going to be putting on some big money on Billy Joe. It's just solely because I got to admit, Billy Joe does got skills. It's not like he's not a skillless guy. Okay, what he does is really good. It works for him. He's an elusive guy, right? So and 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 I think that if this is what he did, rip himself up so that he can be a mover and can be more effective about it, which I think that's what their plan is. I think it's going to make it a very more difficult fight for Canelo to look great. Okay, which even if he didn't look like this, Billy Joe, I still think that it would have been a difficult night for Canelo to look great because, as I said, I can't remember what fight it was on tonight, but or even the Berlanga fight, going back with Nicholson, is Nicholson wasn't there to trade with them. He was moving. He was on survivor mode, and I just got this huge feeling that that's what Billy Joe is going to do. He's going to be on survivor mode immediately. Not even a punch is going to land, and he's going to be on survivor mode a whole lot against Canelo Alvarez, and I think he's going to be content, going into the distance of not worrying about, beating him. It's just the payday and being the fact that he went 12 and that, Canelo didn't beat him up the way he's beating everybody else up of late, right? So going back to Berlanga, it was like the reason he wasn't landing these big shots because it's hard to land big shots and hurting shots against guys that are on survival mode. They're not going to want to engage with you no matter what. They don't care. They're just trying to run out the clock and blast that round. And I could be completely wrong, but I don't know, man. My spider senses are telling me that that's the kind of night we're going to get between Billy Joe Saunders and Canelo. Anyways, but yeah, as you guys heard today, man, Ryan Garcia announced that he's pulling out the fight from Javier Fortuna due to mental health issues. Now, I don't know what's going on with them, so I'm not going to really comment about that. I've seen a lot of fans, downing it and jumping all over him, saying that, you're soft-minded, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This is what I will say. In boxing, you got to remember this. Fighters, when they start off young, their brain is being traumatized. So there's a lot of issues there. Fighters are told in a machismo sport they're not supposed to show signs of weakness and they're not to show any signs of being possibly able to break. But in boxing, we've seen it happen in the actual ring. And what comes to mind is Oliver McCall, who had a drug problem, but then finally just fell apart mentally in the ring against Lennox Lewis. It happens. You see fighters mentally break down in the ring. It's not something uncommon. You see fighters outside the ring mentally do things that they probably wouldn't do if they weren't getting hit in the head. And getting punched in the head is probably as effective as a person doing drugs or drinking, because those stuff can cause depression. So again, I don't know the state of Ryan Garcia. I hope that he's able to overcome this and recover. I hope this is not a tactic of getting out of a fight. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt on that there. Because I showed that fighting Campbell was a tough assignment, so I wouldn't see why he would step out of the Fortuna fight. I thought that was a great sign, showing in the beginning, announced it. But to say that, oh, you got to be mentally, you can't be a fighter if you're not mentally. There's a lot of fighters that are not mentally strong. They really are not. They're not, and a lot of them break down when their cameras are not on. A lot of them have low self-esteem. Their confidence level is not there until those lights pop on and they hear that crowd roaring. That's why we've seen so many of our fighters, man, that don't know what to do with their lives after the lights are off, after the ring apron is put away, their trunks are folded and their gloves are hanged on the wall. And all they got is these pictures of themselves and the great moments that they shared with us. And when we praise them, and then immediately we forget about them when they're no longer part of the sport. These fighters take a lot of trauma to their body, and especially to their head. as I said earlier, if you didn't join me earlier, it's not a natural thing for us to take punishment. Our bodies were not built for that. It really wasn't. And you imagine a child putting on the gloves and headgear, which the headgear is not to protect your head, guys. It's to protect your hands from the other guy when they're punching you. You imagine that trauma and them growing up, being raised in a violent machismo world. What it does, and this kid's been in this game for quite some time. And what I've heard is he's been pretty open with it. And so again, I won't judge him on that. I just only wish for the best, because at the end of the day, it's not me putting my life on the line. It's not you putting your life on the line. You know, it's these guys, you know. So I think a little empathy should go a long way, I think, in my opinion. You don't have to. You can criticize it. I'll be perfectly fine with it, because you have that right. If you're a consumer, you have the right to criticize the fighters. I strongly believe that. I don't think anybody should silence what your opinion is. But just remember, it's just your opinion. We don't know. Everybody's built different. Everybody is built different. Like, everybody has their own story, and everybody has been through hardships one way or another. We all have similar stories, but it's just how we react to those stories and how do we behave. And some of us hide it better than others. Some of us know how to mask it better than others, you know, whereas Ryan has been kind of an open book. Instagram king, YouTube star, a social media frenzy, right? And this generation is more open to show you their life, where my generation was not so much. We were taught to bottle things up. And as you see, sometimes bottling things up, it doesn't go too good. You see that with like Oscar De La Hoya. Oscar De La Hoya, you know, people were calling him a drunk. People were saying this, oh, you know, blah, blah, blah. It was funny. It was great. He did great commentary. But you actually got to see the real Oscar of a guy that's been isolated from the real world. I got two of Oscar's books. I've read them both. And the one that he wrote, which is what, the American Son, right? If you read that book, it actually sounds like a child wrote the book. That's all I got to really say, man, is that, Hypo, ¿qué pasó, brother? How you doing? That's what I got to say about Ryan Garcia. I hope for a speedy recovery. I feel for Javier Fortuna, man, because look at this guy. Linares, Hanley, Davis, now Ryan Garcia. This guy's bidded for every fight, and he hasn't got anything. He's really been on the bench, not any of his fault. I reached out to his team. They actually got back to me. And I'm going to try to talk to them and see what I could do. Maybe try to bring him on, leaving the ring, get his side of the story, his feelings. He was very political about the situation and graceful about it as well. The class act, a gentleman, in his response to what's going on with Ryan Garcia. It's just got to be tough because you're trying to make a living. And if no fault of your own, everybody just pulls out. Nobody wants to fight you. Not saying that Ryan did it, but obviously what Ryan's going through, it prevented him to make a step forward closer to the fight. Let's see, Joe Lopez. Who does it? Okay, Dave. Who do you have winning the Ramirez and Taylor? Híjole, man. I'm gonna save that, bro. When it gets closer. Okay, because I actually want to go back and watch a lot of tape on both guys and look at this really close, because at the moment, I'm leaning with Taylor, but there are things about Ramirez that we need to appreciate and really see how of the jump and progression he got being with the Garcias. That's really helped them out. And styles of fighters mesh better with certain trainers, and I believe that this was a good mesh. Roberto Garcia and Jose Ramirez. It really ties very well, with each other. Chicano Prophet said, I read the American Son. And tell me, bro, if it wasn't, it almost felt like a very young child wrote that book. You know, he just the way he worded it, the way it was this kind of paragraph and format. It was very simple, which I don't mind. I like simple reads and stuff like that. But I just got that sense it was very, very simple, and then there was a lot of stuff kind of held back, but there was things there to be felt for the guy. Like I was like, holy shit, that's kind of crazy having a father who pushed you to the limit, right? G Funky War Ramirez, we know, brother, we know. Top Rank screwed the fans over with the fight site. Only $1,000 ticket. Yeah. Well, again, not all I was saying. I wanted to go to the Nightmare and Ruiz fight, and the bleeder seats. I looked, and maybe I'm wrong. I may have to go back and look at this, but I saw that there were like close to $300 on bleeder seats, and I was like, no, I'm not gonna. I'll be all the way up on top. See little guys like that fighting. I can barely see their hands. No, thank you. You actually have better seating in the what is it called? Where they put you up in the media. If you're not the top press, they put you up in the room, but there's TVs up there. Viva Mexico! You got that, Chicano Prophet? Yes, it was a very simple read. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I know I had another topic here before I get going, man, and like I said, I'm going to be trying to get on here a lot more often than normal. Jesus. $1,000 tickets for sale. That's just insane, dude. That's crazy. And especially at this time, if you really think about it, I mean, this just tells you, though, that because of the empty seats, they got to make up for it, So they're trying to make up for it. I did answer that. What Saunders and Ruiz new look help. I don't know. We don't know yet, right? Absolutely don't know if it will. But going back with Nato, what you're just tweeting, what I just put up here in the comment here, I get it. They got to make up for the empty seatings because they're having the 6 distance and every seat's got to be empty. What is it, like every 1 or 2 seats got to be empty, which you saw that tonight in Florida between Navarrete and Diaz. The capacity wasn't, packed. Unlike the UFC right now, right? That was all packed up, man. There was no distance and stuff. But $1,000 where a lot of folks are not working yet, where things haven't really picked up for everybody, that's a hard sell. That really is, And even to anybody that makes more than $100,000 a year, that's a hard sell, man. $300. You know what I mean? A ticket for the bleeder seats to $1,000 on a sale. That's just a hard sell, because the majority of guys that go to these fights, yeah, it's high rollers, but a lot of high rollers, man, they get these complimentary tickets because they spend so much money at casinos or whatever, and they got great relationships with the promoters and who not. They know somebody in the industry, so a lot of these complimentary tickets they're getting because they put big money. But what pumps through the veins of this sport or the blue collar guys, that's really who are the life source to the sport. So yeah, they really dropped the ball. PBC, Top Rank, anybody really, really dropped the ball on giving out some tickets for the venues that are going to allow fans to be there live and stuff, but I don't think the event itself, the action, is going to let us down, to tell you the truth. I'm not really. I'm actually looking forward to the Nightmare Ruiz pay-per-view card. I could have done without being on pay-per-view, but the undercards are actually pretty good. It's not going to be that bad. Fundora is on there, which I'm excited to see. I'm so excited to continue seeing this kid progress. And he's fighting that other guy, Cora, who was supposed to fight before, but didn't. So. There's some pretty good names on there, man. You got to admit, there are some pretty good fights on that card. Yes, I agree with you. Shouldn't be on pay-per-view, but you know what? I'm going to take it. Yeah, Joe, I saw that on social media, but I'm not a UFC guy, I'll watch it here and there, but I honestly, I just I don't care for the sport, man. I don't know. It's not. Let me say, I just don't know anything about it, like the moves and all that. So which is weird because I wrestled for a lot of years. I was a county champion, went state, all that other stuff, good things and stuff. Wrestled for years. I was a kid, but the UFC has never grabbed me. It really hasn't. And anytime somebody's like, "Oh man, you gotta watch this fight; it's gonna be great," and it's never lived up. Which I could say for my compadres that are into UFC, and I try to invite them over boxing, and it's fight's supposed to hold up to something, and it doesn't deliver. I understand their disappointment as much as they should understand mine when I watch their sport. I'm just like, it's just two vatos in underwears wrestling, getting all sweaty. Don't need to see it. That's the only. I only want to watch the highlight there now about that Masvidal, getting knocked out. If he got knocked out, I want to see that. That's the only thing I care to watch, is to witness that and stuff, because get pendejo, bro. Straight up, I don't understand that. I just don't. I've never understood seeing Latinos go against their own interest. I've never understood that. Now, if you know me, I don't get too political. I don't do all of that because, you know what? I respect everybody's religion, their political view. My job is not to change your mind. Even when I talk boxing, I'm not looking to change your mind. I'm not trying to tell you that I know more or whatever. I'm telling you my perception. And I respect everybody else's perception and stuff. But, I don't want to offend anybody if they believe, oh, America great, all this other crap that Trump did, all these great things for the country. Okay, that's your belief. But then you should be able to hear my belief about it, right? And you should respect it. It's as simple as that. Boxing is the thinking man's game. Rest in peace, Roger Mayweather. You're absolutely right, man. The chances that I got to meet Roger, he used to drop some real gems, real student of the game. And what's crazy is a lot of people didn't think he was very humble. Can you see him on camera? I remember even meeting like Floyd. He's a completely different person off camera than on camera. Showtime to a lot of these guys when they're on camera. When they're off camera, it's completely different. The one thing about boxing is that I've always said this. The boxer is going to tell, it's a truth teller. It's going to tell us whether or not everything that you've said is true, or it's going to reveal that you've actually been hiding behind those words. And that's what boxing really is, So if you talk it, you better walk it, because she doesn't care. She doesn't care that you have to uphold to an image that you're trying to portray. It's gonna amass that, and we're gonna find out really what's in that soul, in that shell that you show up in the ring, right? And I think that's the many reasons why I love boxing. It's so close to life. It's also so close to death, which is shitty to say, because guys lose their lives in the ring, but it's really truly the only sport that gets that close, where you can get so much emotions. You're a hardcore fan, and you know this. Even the casual fans know this, okay? You can watch a fight. You can watch a fight, and in 1 minute, in 3 minutes, actually, you can change emotions in 3 minutes. You could be like, holy shit, right? Get kind of like in a paralyzed state. Like, oh my God. To, oh shit, yeah, hell yeah. Woo, start going crazy, to like, oh, fuck. I'm disappointed. I'm pretty sure every sport can do that. But for me, boxing has always delivered that. It's just a ball of roller coasters. Okay? It's such an adrenaline sport. Whereas other sports are adrenaline sports, but you got to be involved in it. Right? Like my buddy was a snowboard guy. He's like, oh man, but I couldn't watch it. I wanted to do it. Whereas in boxing, you can either be in it, you're an adrenaline junkie, you could box, love it, and you'll still get that same effect watching it. Get those same emotions. of what that fighter's feeling at that moment, feeling the triumph and feeling their loss, everything at once with that connection with that fighter. But anyways, folks, thanks for everybody joining me, man. I really, truly love coming on here and speaking to everybody. Thanks for everybody that joined me. Don't forget to hit that like button. We'll jab that like button, hit uppercut the notification bell, and, so that you don't have to leave it up to the judges. They won't notify you when I'm on, and as always, I'll be back. And just a reminder, we're always on Monday, Look, we don't have a set time. It's either going to be 4 or 5, just to let folks know, because people are hitting me up and go like, what happened to 5 o'clock? Just because that I'm trying to work around the schedule of Amilcar. He now can only come on 4, but, occasions he'll be able to come on at 5. We're always working on trying to get more people to come on, more guests. Thank you, bro. I really appreciate it, man. Always trying to do things, man, make things much better here for Leaving the Ring, and provide as much content and as much things for everybody to tune in and listen. A little bit of everything. You got us, and then you have HCP, who's down with them. I know I am. I know you guys are. They produce a great show on Tuesdays, and then on Wednesdays, Uncensored HCP on G Funky's channel. Then Thursday, you got the Roundtable, which is a great segment. Everybody gets on there and gives their opinions, their breakdown, their analysis. It's a debate show. D-Style does a great job putting that together. I'm still working on Around the Ring, hoping to bring that, And like I said, working on other shows that we could try to bring on here, man. I'm going to continue to still try to produce the quick takes here. Messing around with the look and all that, so it's eye appealing, because I know my ugly face ain't that appealing for everybody. Only to my wife and my kids and to myself. I love myself, man. Gotta love yourself, guys. Gotta love yourself, man. Wake up every morning and say, hey, I love you. Because there might be somebody out there that doesn't. They'll look at you and go like, fuck, this guy showed up to work again. Or damn it, this guy's coming to bed. You know what I mean? Anyways, vatos, hey, thanks for joining me, man. All have a good night. Enjoy your weekend.